بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له رب العالمين وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمد عبده ورسوله المبعوث رحمة للعالمين صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So yesterday in the second Jumu'ah we started a topic about the fadail of the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We did not get much covered. We just started and I thought maybe we can continue that inshaAllah. So the reason we want to cover this bab, there are multiple benefits about learning about the virtues and fadail of this ummah. First is that it should create within us in this day and age when we see the ummah going through so many difficulties, so much hardship, so many trials, so many tribulations globally throughout the world. When we learn about the fadail and we review the virtues of this ummah, then this should give us a sense of gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a sense of shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that despite all that is happening, there's still so much to be thankful for. And we did not apply to be in this ummah, we did not deserve this to be in this ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam because of any of our personal accomplishments. Rather, this is solely from the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon us. If we are not even aware of the blessing that we have, then the chances that we are going to, there is no chance, in fact, that we will thank Allah Ta'ala for the blessing. If a person knows about the blessing and is aware of it, then there are two possibilities. He may thank Allah for the blessing, or he may ignore it, he may forget about it, he may not appreciate it. But if a person does not even know about the blessing, right? So for example, you give somebody a gift in their hand of cash or a check, $1,000 gift. You give it to them and they're aware of it because you give it to them in their own hand. Now he could be very grateful and thankful and say, "Thank you so much. I was not expecting this. That is so kind of you." Or he could just take it and put it away or reject it. These are the possibilities. But if you gave it to someone to give it to him, your intention is he should receive it, but he never got it. Or maybe you just directly deposited in his account or his caretaker's, his guardian's account, and he did not check it yet. He doesn't know. He's away, he's traveling or some other case. So he's not aware. You gave the gift, but he's not aware. So there's no way he's going to ever appreciate it. So if we are in such a situation where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted us these blessings, these virtues, and we don't even know about the virtue, then how are we going to ever thank Him? The second benefit first is that we create shukr within our hearts for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Secondly is that it gives us consolation as well. That despite everything going on, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not abandoned us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has His plan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best why the ummah is in the position it is. But at the end of the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does love us. And thirdly is that beyond shukr, it should inspire us to further amal. If we realize how much Allah loves us and how much honor He has given us and how much position He has given us, this is a further motivation for us, inshaAllah, to increase in our amal, to realize that what is the objective that Allah Ta'ala had created us for, and how much more we need to do and how much we need to increase. And there is something within us that we have this blessing, we are perhaps ignorant of, unaware of, and that is why we're not actualizing our full potential. So there is a distinction, there is a unique fadilah of this ummah and every individual of this ummah compared to all of the previous nations. And so many unique blessings. So there is something special. Now, what it should not create, na'udhu billah, just like these are the positive things we should look for and the niyyah we should make. But at the same time, we have to guard ourselves never to fall into the very obvious potential pitfall, and that is kibr, arrogance. So by studying these fada'il and virtues, if you end up thinking that I'm better than you, I'm better than the other nations, or that you are disgraced and I am elevated, and this creates arrogance in the heart, then that would be a failure, and that is absolutely not what we are hoping to achieve. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts off, the first point of course is going to be Surah Al-Imran, ayah 110, wherein Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in very explicit terms, right in the Quran, before we even get to the hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that, using the superlative form, Kuntum khayra ummatin, you are the best of all the nations. Yani that should be sufficient, one ayah and the first part of the one ayah, for us to believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Kuntum khayra ummatin, you are the best of all the nations. Now, there are so many ummahs, so many nations that have come. Every Nabi, you cannot actually technically say that every Nabi had his own ummah. Every Nabi had an ummah that who they were sent to guide, but every Nabi didn't necessarily have their own ummah. وَضَرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلًا أَصْحَابَ الْقَرْيَةِ إِذْ جَاءَهَا الْمُرْسَلُونَ إِذْ أَرْسَلْنَا إِلَيْهِمُ اثْنَيْنِ فَكَذَّبُوهُمَا فَعَزَّزْنَا بِثَالِثٍ. So there were 3 Anbiya in the one town. And it's not that each Nabi had 1/3 of the town assigned to them. This is your unit. Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3. No. All the 3 had the responsibility for the entire town. So, وَإِن مِّنْ أُمَّةٍ إِلَّا خَلَا فِيهَا نَذِيرٌ. The other way, you can say every ummah had a Nabi, minimum 1. But not necessarily every Nabi had a unique ummah. But there were approximately 124,000 Anbiya, 124,000. And Allah knows how many different ummahs there have been. So this is not some breaking news, first time you heard this. Everyone has heard this ayah so many times. The question is, have we stopped to ponder on it? Have we reflected on it? Have we thought about it? When Allah Ta'ala is saying, Kuntum, you, He's talking to whom? He's not talking only to Sahaba. He's talking to each and every single one amongst us. Kuntum khayra ummatin. You are the best of all the nations. Not just okay or good or you'll pass, but the best. Ukhrijat linnas, you have been selected, you have been divinely chosen. And ikhraj, khuruj means to come out. Kharaja is to exit. Khuruj is going out, leaving. Makhraj is the place of exiting. So, just like here we have the exit signs with the red in Arabic speaking countries, it will say makhraj. And somebody is studying tajweed, will say makhraj, which letter is pronounced there? This is not the makhraj or makharij of the tajweed. This makhraj is a place of exiting. So the reason when we study tajweed we learn makharij is those are the different places where the huruf and the letters they exit from the mouth, right? So Allah Ta'ala said, Ukhrijat, you have been taken out. Meaning, if all of the humanity, from Adam alayhi salam to the last human being, are in one plane, then a selected group who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the honor to be the khairul umam, the best of all nations, they have been picked out, selected, chosen, and taken out. Ukhrijat. Normally when you have the word ikhraj, taken out, it's a negative thing. It's a negative connotation. Like you have a fruit, so you take out the bad part, cut it and throw it away. Right? Instead of throwing the whole fruit, nowadays people just throw the whole fruit. We should cut out the bad part. If something burns, cut out the burnt part. If we are in a school, so if someone is harmful for the student body and is creating a problem, then the same word is used, ikhraj, which it means to expel. The student is expelled. So typically it's used in a negative connotation. But over here, ukhrijat means that all of the people are here. Everyone, the smaller portion is taken out and leave the bigger portion. So it's more efficient that way. So if you have everyone here and then we say that, okay, who are the brothers, mashallah, who Allah Ta'ala has given them tawfiq, they are ready to do the khidmah, right? So there's only, from the entire crowd, you only have some individuals. So they would be to say, okay, you can stand up and proceed. Allah has given you that honor. The rest of the people can remain sitting. It's like that. أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ. They have been taken out, they have been selected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why have they been selected? لِلنَّاسِ, for the benefit of mankind. So these individuals have been selected for the benefit of the rest of humanity. And what is the feather in their cap and what is their unique attribute? إِسْتَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهُونَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. Because they do not only do good deeds and they do not only abstain from sins, but on top of that, they invite towards good deeds and they prevent sins. They prohibit sins. There's so many words in the Quran and the Sunnah for good deeds. Amal salihah is the most common word we may have heard. And so many words are in the Quran for sins, like sayyi'at and ma'asiyah, means ma'asi is sins. But over here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses a different word for the good deed and a different word for the sin, which is not typically used. Right? إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. It's not عَمِلُ الْمَعْرُوف. Right? Or whenever Allah ta'ala talks about sins, He talks about ma'asiyah, ma'asi, or sayyi'at. Over here He's using the word munkar. تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهُونَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. Why are these words used in this context? It's because ma'ruf means that which is well known. Arafa ya'rifu means to know. The one who has recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the arif billah. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ أي لِيَعْرِفُونَ. Allah has created us for His ma'rifah. In Urdu, when you introduce someone, ta'aruf, right, is introduction. And so arif is the one who knows, and ma'ruf is that which is known. So the one who is well known, or the thing which is well known, ye ma'ruf shakhsiyat hai, he's a well known person. We heard that about ma'ruf shakhsiyat, this is a well known person. In Urdu they say that ma'ruf is well known. Now ta'muruna bil ma'ruf, you invite towards that which is well known, meaning there are so many. What is well known? Meaning there are so many different types of good deeds. And some of the good deeds are concerning which there may be a difference of opinion. There may be an ikhtilaf about it. Is this the actual sunnah practice or is this an abrogated practice? Is it mansukh? Is this the correct way of performing it? There's a different ijtihad, a different mujtahideen. Since it is not something which is well known to the extent that there's no difference of opinion about it being the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we should not start inviting towards those types of practices and make that our agenda. So, for example, in salah, because salah is something that we perform 5 times a day and we perform in jama'ah. So there are hadith of Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhuma that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam raised his hands in the takbirat al-ula, in the beginning of the salah, and qabla ruku', before ruku', ba'da ruku', after ruku'. There are hadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam raised his hands bayna sajdatain, between the sajda and the next sajda in the middle, he raised his hands as well. So, and then there's also hadith of Abdullah bin Mas'ud, ala usalli bikum salata Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, should I not perform the sunnah, salah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, farafa yadayhi in the takbirat al-ula, then he raised his hands in the first takbir, and then he didn't, thumma lam ya'ud, he didn't until the end. So there's a difference of opinion. Both hadith are rigorously authentic. So some have different ways of interpreting, some make tarjih, some make tansikh, some make tatbiq, different ways of interpreting it. So among the 4 Imams, Imam Malik and Imam Abu Hanifa, the senior 2, the Shaykhin, they believe that raising the hands is in the beginning of the salah. The most respected, most beloved, Imam Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i al-Muttalibi, Imam Ahmed al-Hanbal, Imam who saved the Sunnah and the Aqidah in the face of the Mu'tazili, and mashallah, we respect him. And the reason I'm emphasizing we respect them is because if we or some of us may not follow their ijtihad, it doesn't mean that we look down upon them. They believe that is a continual sunnah practice. But some parts of the takbir they also believe are mansukh, abrogated. Meaning they do not indicate that we should raise our hands between the 2 sajdas. So if you take this far'i matter, juzi matter, and we say that you go on a campaign about it, and to invite the entire ummah towards it. Then, and we say, what are you doing? You're doing amr bil ma'roof. Then that's not ma'roof. Because that's the reason Allah Ta'ala chose the word. Performing the salah itself, performing with jama'ah itself, right? And the ilm and the dhikr and the ikhlas and the da'wah and all of these are the, and ikram, these are ma'roof. This is amr bil ma'roof. But if there's a difference of opinion about saying ameen softly or loudly, or about positioning the feet in the prayer, and these minor issues, then we should not necessarily make that into a full-blown campaign. Same thing on the munkar side. So this was an example I gave about the takbir ula from the Shafi'i inviting the Hanafi. But on the other side, you have, for example, if a Hanafi says that in his fiqh, the understanding in this ijtihadi matter, shrimp or crabs, right, or lobster is haram. And they believe the Hanafi believes that only thing from the sea that they eat is a fish. حلت لنا الميتتان والدمان أما الميتتان فالسمك والجراد أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. So only the fish is halal without zabiha. Because when you take the fish out of the sea, you do not make zabiha of it. It dies from not having oxygen because it cannot breathe in the air. So that is uhillat lana al-maytatan. That is a mayta. That is a carrion who dies natural death without subhanallah, slaughtering, without zabiha, and it's halal. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. As far as the ayah is, وَحِلَّ لَكُمْ صَيْدُ الْبَحْرِ, which Imam Shafi'i used. Sayd over here, according to Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi, means fishing, the act of fishing, the masdar. It means to fish. It doesn't mean masid, that which is fished. Allah Ta'ala, in that context, when He's talking about ihram, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَقْتُلُوا الصَّيْدَ وَأَنْتُمْ حُرُمٌ. O those who believe, do not hunt. You cannot hunt when you are in state of ihram. And then Allah Ta'ala says that وَحِلَّهُمْ صَيْدُ الْبَحْرِ. However, fishing in the sea is halal. Fishing in the sea. Whereas Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi, respective opinion is that everything that is fished from the sea. So he takes the masdar and takes it into the meaning of Ism Maf'ul. He says every single thing that is fished from the sea. He goes with the majaz. The Hanafi go with the haqiqah. They go with the literal meaning that fishing, and Imam Shafi'i says that which is fished. So in short, this is something that is ikhtilaf about it. Just like the former example, is it ikhtilaf, is it sunnah or not? This is ikhtilaf, is haram or not. You understand? That's the difference. Now if somebody, he makes a whole campaign, I will stop the entire ummah from eating crab. Don't go to red lobster or orange lobster or white, any type of lobster. So this, if he starts doing this and he says, why are you doing this campaign? That's why there's a whole ikhtilaf about shrimp. Not ikhtilaf with the Shafi'iyya, ikhtilaf within the Hanafiya. Because some Hanafiya say that, hey, this is a fish too. The masala is it a fish or is not a fish? So in the past, because if it's a fish, it's halal according to Hanafiya. If it's not a fish, it's haram. Or makruh tahrimi. But according to Shafi'iyya, will they have this discussion? There's no need to even have the discussion because everything from the ocean is halal to begin with. So it's not a discussion baina Shafi'iyya, it's discussion among the Hanafi scholars. So in the past, so people were giving evidences that it is a fish. They would, from literature, from common understanding, from urf and this and that. And then later on, taxonomy, right? Within biology and within science, there's a field of taxonomy, which is a classification of the species. So they classify it under crustaceans that it does not have the khususiyat of a fish. So they will define what is a fish. So based on that, some say that there's no way it can be a fish because that's how the scientists define it. So therefore shrimp is haram. But others say that, okay, they're not going to argue the science because that's not part of their subject. But they will say that the fiqh of determining whether it's halal or haram is not based on the scientific calculation of it, but rather based on how the people treat it. وَالْعُرْفُ فِي شَرْعِ لَهُ اعْتِبَارُ لِذَا عَلِيهِ الْحُكْمُ قَدْ يُدَارُ, as it comes in Ibn Abidin in his Uqud Rasm al-Mufti. He says that sometimes وَالْعُرْفُ فِي شَرْعِ لَهُ اعْتِبَارُ. The urf meaning the common understanding and the way the people approach the situation in the Sharia, that لَهُ اعْتِبَارُ. It has i'tibar, there is a consideration of that as well. لذا عليه الحكم قد يدار. That's why sometimes قد يدار. Sometimes the daru madar, the basis of the ruling will be on the understanding of the people. So if you ask the people, what is a lobster? Those people in the villages who are fishermen on the sea, on the coast, you say, what is a lobster? They'll say, that's not a fish. And what is a shrimp? They'll say it's a fish. Because the ruling cannot be based on such a high level thing where people who are the scientists, only they are able to determine that. How is the common person going to know? So then this would fall under taklif ma la yutaq. You're making that person responsible to get a full degree and know that which is beyond his capacity. And وَلَا يُكَلِّفُ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا وُسْعَهَا. Allah does not make it binding upon you. Right? That's why فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمْ وَشَهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْهُ. If you see the moon, you fast. If you don't see the moon, you don't have to fast. So you do not have to necessarily have the level of telescopes and Hubble telescopes. And a Hubble telescope, it will not help in this one. That's going too far. But if you have, subhanAllah, high-level observatories, you don't need to, right? Because the Sharia is such that you can implement it in London, Tokyo, Paris, as well as in the middle of the Sahara and in the Congo and in the jungle and in the mountains. So, in any case, I just wanted to give an example that this is not munkar. So if somebody is eating shrimp or eating crab, you cannot go and stop him. Man ra'a minkum munkaran. Whoever sees a munkar, right? فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِيَدِهِ. Let him go change it with his hand. فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ. If he's not able to grab his hand and stop him, فَبِلِسَانِهِ. Then speak out against it. فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ. If he's not able to do that, فَبِقَلْبِهِ. Regarded evil in his heart. وَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ. This is the lowest level of iman. So this eating a lobster is not a munkar. So man ra'a minkum munkaran, whoever sees a munkar, let him stop it with his hand, does not apply. Particularly it's important in America because this is where we have people from, who have all throughout the world have come to chase the American dream. Right? The American dream of a person having his own home and his family and freedom and democracy and human rights. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So this is why people have come for economic opportunity, etc. Now, there are people from all different places in the world, and they have different, fiqh in all different places. And the different fiqh in the different places happened from the era of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not in his noble presence, because in tanaza'tum fi shay'in, if you have any ikhtilaf about any fiqhi matter, fardu ila Allah wa Rasul, go back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ask him. So when he is present, there's no different opinion. There's no ikhtilaf ma fi qawlani wa la ikhtilaf fi ithnani. There's no two opinions. However, even when he's still alive, he sent different Sahaba. Mu'adh bin Jabal to Yemen. And Abdullah bin Mas'ud later on went to Kufa. And Ali ibn Hadrami to Bahrain. And Abu Darda to Sham. And Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As to Misr. So they were all great Sahaba and Fuqaha. They gave Ubay ibn Ka'b and Hudhayfa ibn al-Yaman all the way to Azerbaijan. So these different Sahaba went and they established the deen. So they would make ijtihad, and their ijtihads would not necessarily all be the same. They would drive rulings. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him to do so. When he was sending Mu'adh bin Jabal to Yemen, he asked him that كيف تقضي, when people ask you questions, how are you going to decide? بكتاب الله, with the book of Allah. فإن لم تجد, if you don't find the answer in the book of Allah, you look through the whole Quran, من أول إلى آخر, you won't find shrimp. Then, because you're in Medina, there's no ocean. But now you go to Makkah, is also there's no ocean. I mean, Jeddah is the closest, but Makkah itself is not on the coast. Medina is farther from the coast, so you never came across shrimp. Now you're in Yemen, there's more coast, right? The Indian Sea on the south, and then the west is also the Red Sea, both sides. So now people, they're fishing. So they're going to ask you. So you, Kitab Allah, look in the book of Allah. فَإِن لَمْ تَجِدْ, I don't find it. فَبِسُنَّةِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ, look in the sunnah. فَإِن لَمْ تَجِدْ, if you don't find it. So this is Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam before he's sending Mu'adh bin Jabal. He's quizzing him, testing him. Are you ready to go to be the teacher of the people of Yemen? Then he said, he didn't just say Allah Rasulu Alam. Allah was, no, I'm giving you this position. You are going to be the teacher of all the people in Yemen, so you better be ready, right? You're getting a certificate, you're getting an ijazah. They have an official license to teach. So you're getting an ijazah. So do you know your stuff or not? So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam tested him. فَإِن لَمْ تَجِدْ, if you don't find sunnah, O Mu'adh ibn Jabal, what are you going to do? He was not any average student. In fact, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "A'lamuhum bil halal wal haram, Mu'adh ibn Jabal." The one who has the most knowledge in my entire galaxy of Sahaba about halal and haram is Mu'adh ibn Jabal. Even though he was Fatan Ansari, young Ansari man. And Umar radiallahu anhu said that, "Wallahi lawla Mu'adhun lahalaka Umar." If it was not for Mu'adh ibn Jabal's guidance and his mashwara, then Umar would have been destroyed. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam swore and said, in fact, he has a fadila juz'iyya, specific virtue. Overall fadila kulliya is Abu Bakr Siddiq. Overall the greatest. But he has a unique virtue. Just like, for example, in sports, you'll say 1% is overall the most valuable player. But in a particular stats, somebody may have more rebounds, or somebody may have more, assists, or somebody may have a particular, be better in 3-point. So likewise, there are different Sahaba who have their juz'i fadila. أفضلهم بالتحقيق أبو بكر الصديق. أفضل, overall, the best is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. However, لكل أمة أمين وأمين هذه الأمة أبو عبيدة بن الجراح. Abu Ubaidah bin al-Jarrah has greatest in his amana. He's the Amin al-Ummah. And أعلم بالحلال والحرام معاذ بن جبل. And subhanallah, أصدقهم حياء Uthman. Uthman radiallahu anhu's haya is his unique attribute. أقضاهم Ali. Ali radiallahu anhu's judgment, sense of giving a qadi, he was the greatest. And أشدهم في أمر الله Umar, that he's strongest in the matter of the deen of Allah Ta'ala. Not in doing dhulm and oppression, but rather in enforcing the order of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and not fearing anyone. لا يخافون في الله لومة لائم. Not worried about someone is going to say something, but worried about what Allah is going to say. Having haya from Allah, مولاك لا يراك حيث نهاك. Maybe that I never want to be in a condition where my Allah sees me that I am disobeying Him. And you can never escape from the sight of Allah. So therefore you cannot disobey Him anytime. So, subhanallah. So these are called juz'i fadila. What else is a juz'i fadila? أفرادهم زيد بن ثابت. Zayd ibn Thabit has the most knowledge regarding the knowledge of fara'id. What fara'id? Not salat and sawm. Fara'id over here is referring to mirath, masail of inheritance. So he that requires a lot of calculation and math. So he was very good in that. أقرأهم أبي بن كعب. Ubay ibn Ka'b is the greatest qari. So these are unique. This is called fadila juz'iyya, unique individual fadila, virtue. So Ubay ibn Ka'b is the greatest qari. So Umar radiallahu anhu, when he established the Tarawih Salah, he was looking, who should we make the imam? So that's why he said, okay, Ubay ibn Ka'b, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said he's aqra'ahum, greatest qari. So therefore, he qualifies to be the imam. So he made Ubay ibn Ka'b the imam of the Tarawih in the Masjid al-Nabawi. MashaAllah. So imagine Tarawih led by Ubay ibn Ka'b radiallahu anhu. So over here, a'lamu bil halal. Now, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, كيف تقضي? How will you judge? He said, بكتاب الله, by the book of Allah. فإن لم تجد, if you don't find it, بسنة رسول الله. فإن لم تجد, if you don't find it. Then he said, أجتهد برأيي. I will make an ijtihad to determine, hey, what is this? According to this shrimp, the Quran says that samak is halal, fish is halal, and fulan, but otherwise it's dying from suffocation or from it doesn't have oxygen, it cannot breathe. So which one is it? Right? So he's trying to determine that. Bi-ra'i. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then finally gave him the certification. And how did he certify him? The authorization, the diploma was Alhamdulillahi alladhi waffaqa rasula rasulillah bima yuhibbu wa yarda. All praise and thanks to Allah who has given that correct understanding, the tawfiq, the guidance to the Rasula Rasulillah, to the messenger of Allah. It's a triple, this is like idafa, meaning Rasul of Allah. Rasula Rasulillah. So Allah sent me and I'm sending you. So just like Abu Bakr Siddiq was a Khalifatu Rasulillah, successor to the Prophet. In the beginning, for some time, Umar radiallahu anhu, his title was Khalifatu Khalifati Rasulillah, successor to the successor of the Prophet of Allah. And it was getting cumbersome. And you didn't have to have, a lot of rocket science to be able to project that the next one was going to be what? Khalifatu Khalifati Khalifati Rasulillah. successor to, the successor of Rasulullah. It's only going to get longer. It's going to get shorter? No. So then it's going to become too cumbersome. So then they made mashwara, and then they decided that he should be named Amirul Mu'mineen. So Mu'adh ibn Jabal, he made ijtihad. So all the different scholars made ijtihad. Some said some things are halal and haram, and وَفِي وُسَعَةٍ. So there are certain things which we cannot, subhanallah, have ikhtilaf about, and there are certain things where it is okay in jais. And our problem is that we take the minor issues, make them into battles, and the big issues we say sometimes it's okay. The ummah goes to the extreme. So mashallah, it's a Shia or Fulan, it's okay, it's all okay. No, it's not all okay, because what are some of the aqaids of the Shia? Do we know? Like some of their aqidas, it's not just that, oh, they love Ali, so we love Ali too. They love Al Rasul, we love Al Rasul. Loving the family of Rasulullah is part of our iman. Our iman is not complete if you do not love Rasul, if you do not love everything associated with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We love every single rock and stone. Forget about his own beloved grandchildren, that Hassanain that he hugged and he kissed and he held them close to his chest. And when he would make sajda, they would go onto his back. And when he would be giving a speech, and they would come, and then he would leave it and go and grab them. In fact, one time, I forgot which one of the Hassanain, either Hassan or Hussein, was riding on his neck, not just in the salah, because salah will say, okay, he couldn't stop them. He was involuntarily just agreeing to this because he's in sajda, and what can he do? So he just let it happen. No, when he was awake and alert and outside of salah, he was walking, and his grandson was on his neck, and he was carrying him. He didn't he didn't just climb up on top. He put him on top. He picked up his baby and put him on top. So when Umar radiallahu anhu came by and he said that, Subhanallah, ni'mal markab ya Hassan, what a beautiful ride you have. Oh Hassan, you have a beautiful ride. Typically you say that if someone's on a beautiful horse, nice horse, markab is the ride. They say, well, you have such an amazing ride. You're riding on where? On the neck of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So Rasulullah, what did he say? وَنِعْمَ الرَّاكِبُ كَذَلِكَ. The one who is riding is great and beautiful indeed too. He didn't say two, he said he's great. And I will add two. All right? Because Rasulullah is the greatest, of course. So we love the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Sayyida Shababi Ahl Jannah, the king, the leaders of the youth of Jannah. But it's not just that. It's attacking Abu Bakr Siddiq and Umar and Uthman. It's cursing them, cursing the azwaj of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and many other batil, deviated beliefs. Right? So may Allah Ta'ala protect us from that. So when he comes there, we'll say, hey, oh, everyone's okay. When it comes to minor issues, then we start fighting about it. So the Quran says, تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Right? You invite towards that which is well known. And there's no difference of opinion. Talk about that. Don't talk about divisive issues. Likewise, on the prohibition side, تَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. Right? وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ. And you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one thing to understand is that iman and believing in Allah ta'ala has to come first before anything else. The same hadith of Mu'adh bin Jabal and other Sahaba, when Rasulullah sent them, he said, what are you going to invite them towards? Iman. Tawheed is the first lesson. فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Start with Tawheed. Then after that you will study about ibadat and mu'amalat and mu'ashara and akhlaq. These are the things you add on. And iman is the first thing. When someone accepts Islam, what's the first thing we teach them? This is halal and haram, do's and don'ts. No, first we talk about Tawheed. Learn iman. So iman should come first. Chronologically, it's the first thing. So, and then it's ma'roof and amr bil ma'roof. Then it's ijtinab anil munkar, staying away from sin, and nahi anil munkar. All that comes after. So over here it's worth noting that the order seems to be flipped. It says ta'muruna bil ma'roof wa tanahuna 'anil munkar and wa tu'minuna billah, and you believe in Allah. Why is the iman not mentioned first? So there are a couple of reasons. So even though iman billah is supposed to come first, and it's not just, hey, if it comes first it's better. It's actually a shart, a condition. Without iman, if a person is doing amr bil ma'roof, nahi anil munkar, he's doing all the great things in the world, all acts of charity, it does not have any value. وَقَدِمْنَا إِلَى مَا عَمِلُوا مِنْ عَمَلٍ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا. It's turned into dust. Because it's without iman. If it's without ikhlas, it's turned into dust. So without iman. It's absolutely null and void. No benefit. أخسرين أعمالا, who are the greatest losers? الذين ضل سعيهم في الحياة الدنيا وهم يحسبون أنهم يحسنون صنعا. They thought they were doing good deeds, but there's no good deeds. This is the ayah that Umar radiallahu anhu, he recited when he saw the monks and the nuns in the convents and the monasteries, when he went to accept the keys of Jerusalem, and he saw their level of mujahada they're doing, taking vows of celibacy, not getting married, living in the mountaintops and giving up all the pleasures of the world. So he said, Allah Ta'ala said, قُلْ هَلْ نُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِالْأَخْسَرِينَ أَعْمَالًا. These are the greatest losers. خَسِرَ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْخُسْرَانُ الْمُبِينُ. This is the greatest failure of dunya and akhirah. They lost on both. So you need iman. Without iman, nothing. It's like, okay, you eat and drink, kulu washrabu, eat and drink, and then, you eat and then you drink. You eat food and then you drink. Some people say, no, I drink before I eat. You can do it both ways. But what about wudu and salah? You perform salah and then afterwards go make wudu? What's the point of that? Wudu doesn't just, okay, we have time for, mashallah, to eating and drinking. SubhanAllah, time for eating and drinking. We got the sign. So we have to go. But let me conclude this one last point, inshallah. Then we go for the breakfast. And we have to finish it quickly. So I encourage everyone to go down actually, so that we have the hall ready for the hifz students. Right? Because, mashallah, you can make your longest nawafil and all the azkar masnoona and whatever Allah gives you tawfiq, and make dua for me too. When? After the breakfast. Oh. So, okay, Riyadh reminded me last time as well. Okay, they have to, before the his class comes in. So, and I will give you, you'll say, when you give us time to eat, we'll eat, right? So I'll let you go right now. But let me just finish this one last thing. So if you say, perform the salah and then make wudu, what is this? So the salah without wudu is not valid. So likewise, amr bil ma'ruf nahy anil munkar without iman is not valid. But over here, Allah Ta'ala reversed it. تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ. Why he reversed it is because, a couple of reasons. One is, each reason, there's so many different reasons mentioned. And sometimes they have like 10, 12, 15 reasons. It's interesting how many reasons they can come up with, the Mufassirun. جَمِيعُ الْعُلُومِ فِي الْقُرْآنِ لَكِنْ تَقَاصَرَ عَنْهُ أَفْهَامُ الرِّجَالِ. It is our limit how much we can understand. So much knowledge. But some of them, they really hit you. They're like, wow, that actually makes sense. Honestly, sometimes some of them, they do not make that much sense. Not the Quran makes sense. I'm talking about reason number 12, reason number 15. At that point, really struggling to come up with reasons. But in the main ones, I'll just share two reasons which actually make sense. And it's not something theoretical, it makes sense. It has a practical implication too. So one reason, do you understand? First of all, what's the problem? You understand the problem, right? Why is Iman afterwards? So the first answer is that, subhanAllah, Iman is something which is common with all of the previous ummahs. At least the righteous ones amongst them, those who are going to Jannah, all of them had Iman. Is it something as a bonus for the previous ummahs? No, they had to have Iman too. But over here, the context of this ayah is kuntum khayra ummah. You are the best ummah. So is it because you have Iman and the people before you did not have Iman? No, they had Iman too. Maybe your quality is stronger, but they all had Iman. So what's the unique thing you had? The fact that you make Amr bil Ma'ruf Nahi anil Munkar because there is no other Nabi coming after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Kullama halaka nabiyyun khalafahu akhar. Every time a Nabi went in the past, another Nabi came. But this Nabi, ana khatam al-anbiya la nabiyya ba'di. No Nabi coming after me. That's the difference. So your Amr bil Ma'ruf Nahi anil Munkar is at a higher level. Doesn't mean that the previous nations did not do Amr bil Ma'ruf Nahi anil Munkar. They did. فَلَمَّا نَسُوا مَا ذُكِرُوا بِهِ أَنْجَيْنَا الَّذِينَ يَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ السُّوءِ. Allah Ta'ala says about the Ashab al-Sabt that those who prohibited evil, those who did Nahi anil Munkar, those who said don't fish on Saturday, don't put your traps, you think you're deceiving Allah? So they were doing Nahi anil Munkar in the past. Sometimes people go a little bit extreme and they say, nobody did Amr bil Ma'ruf before, nobody did Nahi anil Munkar, only this Ummah is doing it. That's wrong too. They did it as well. But it was not an obligation or a distinction at the level it is for this Ummah. That's why it's mentioned first. Another reason is mentioned first is like, Ya ayyuha Rasul kulu min at-tayyibat wa amalu salihah. Eat halal food and do good deeds. Because by eating halal, pure food, it will inspire you, it will give you the nur to do good deeds. Like go eat your breakfast, then pray ishraq. The more halal food you eat, they're serving 100% halal food, right? Not 99%. So the thing is, they give you, if you eat the halal food, طيبات, وَعْمَلُوا صَالِحًا, then do good deeds. So because eating halal food, it will inspire you. You'll have a special nur in your ibadah, inshallah. And the opposite is true. The zulma, darkness comes. If you eat haram food, your ibadah is rejected. Right? Like the one who is lost in the desert, he raises his hand, يقول يا رب يا رب يا رب فأنا يستجاب له. Why would his dua be accepted? لأن مأكله حرام ومشربه حرام وملبسه حرام. Eating, drinking, and his libas, everything is haram. So his dua is rejected. So likewise over here, Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi al Munkar is mentioned before Iman, because by inviting towards truth, speaking the haqq and speaking against Munkar, this will what? Strengthen and increase the Iman. Izdadu iman ma imaniyam. It is a means of increasing the Iman. So that's why Iman is mentioned afterwards. Does that make sense? The more Amr al-Ma'ruf Nahi al-Munkar you do, what will happen? It will strengthen your own Iman. So this is another reason. And this is another reason which makes sense. Right? You will say, I don't have time now, but you will appreciate the reasoning which makes sense if you see some of the reasoning which does not make sense. But for sufficient for our discussion, I'll just share the ones that do make sense. And each one has a unique benefit. So we also learn, wow, Amr bil Ma'ruf Nahi al-Munkar actually helps strengthens one Iman. We also learn that, wow, Amr bil Ma'ruf Nahi al-Munkar is what? Unique attribute of this Ummah. So these are the two reasons why it is worded the way it is worded. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the reward. So this the understanding and the of our maqam in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that was just the first ayah. And inshallah we'll try to cover the remaining ones. نُكْمِلُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ سَبْعِينَ أُمَّةً نَحْنُ آخِرُهَا وَخَيْرُهَا. Allah Ta'ala says, Rasulullah said we are the best of the Ummah as well. And this will be the maqam on the Day of Judgment. إِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ حُرِمَتْ عَلَى الْأَنْبِيَاءِ حَتَّى أَدْخُلَهَا وَإِنَّهَا لَمُحَرَّمَةٌ عَلَى الْأُمَّةِ حَتَّى تَدْخُلَهَا ummati. Jannah is haram upon the Anbiya until I enter it. It's haram upon all the nations to enter it until my nation enters it. نحن آخر الأمم. We are the last of the ummahs, and أولها يوم القيامة. دخول الجنة. First to enter Jannah on the Day of Judgment. Subhanallah. So many other virtues are there. So again, to recap, why do we go over these virtues? So we have an opportunity to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it further inspires us to do good. Not that if we develop any kibr and arrogance. We realize Allah ta'ala selected us. وَاجْتَبَاكُمْ وَاجْتَبَاكُمْ Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ثم أورثنا الكتاب الذين اصطفينا من عبادنا. So istifa and ijtiba means to select. Muhammad al-Mustafa and Ahmed al-Mujtaba. So these words of Mustafa and Mujtaba, this entire ummah is Mustafa. This entire ummah is Mujtaba. At a general level. وَاجْتَبَاكُمْ. Allah has selected you. So we are selected by Allah Ta'ala. May Allah Ta'ala inspire us to be able to fulfill the responsibility He has given us. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallam. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad wa barik wa sallam. Oh Allah, fill our hearts with your greatness. Ya Allah, fill our hearts with the love of your Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Fill our hearts with himma and courage. And allow us to understand how lofty our status is in your eyes, and to fulfill the responsibilities you have given us, Ya Allah, to fulfill the responsibilities you have entrusted upon us. Oh Allah, our izzah is through Islam, and our dhillah is by leaving Islam. Oh Allah, we have brought dhillah upon ourselves by abandoning their deen. Oh Allah, grant us all izzah, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Grant us our ability to come back to the deen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, relieve the suffering of those brothers and sisters throughout the world, and in Gaza in particular that are suffering. Oh Allah, bring peace and aman and security throughout the world, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Protect us and our loved ones. Protect our masajid, madaris, our families and businesses. Oh Allah, unite the Muslim Ummah, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, forgive all our sins, major and minor, and oh Allah, become pleased with all of us. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala mursalin.